This is part 2 of making the Spurs themed bubble braids, and we are going to get right to making the actual bubble braid. We use a clear elastic, and we're going to space these out so that we have about a medium-sized bubble when it's done. The further you space these apart, the bigger your bubble braids will be. And same thing, the closer you put them together, the smaller your bubbles will be. So you just want to make sure that you wrap it around maybe 2 to 3 times, not too tight, because you want to be able to still slide the hair up. And that's how you get the bubble effect. Real simple, real easy. Smooth out that bottom. You want to make sure that you're not pulling too hard on the hair below, because it will I guess deflate the bubble, if you will. It kind of pulls the hair and it'll kind of flatten it out. So we're taking the crochet tool now. Make sure the hook is open. You go through the center and you wrap that hair around. You're going to make sure that it's a thin piece. You don't want to do too thick. It makes it a little bit more difficult to pull through the hair if you have too thick of a section to wrap around that rubber band. And every time you pull and move on to the next section, you want to make sure you're constantly fluffing it back out, because with this synthetic hair, it has a tendency to not cooperate sometimes, and it'll slide. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you could risk deflating your bubbles if you pull too hard on the hair below. So I'm just going in the center, finding a strand, pulling up, and making a bubble. When you're fluffing it out like this, you want to make sure that you pinch the rubber band so that you're not pulling out too much hair. Because as you're working with this synthetic hair, you'll feel it. It's, I guess, slippery, if you will. Make sure your crochet hook is open. You stick it through the center of the rubber band. You take that thin section of hair, you wrap it around the rubber band, and then you wrap it into the hook and pull. This is a very, very simple technique, very cute. You can do as many or as little bubble braids as you want. Some ideas are also, you can do some different braids in between each bubble braid. So there's a lot of possibilities to do with this technique. But for these purposes, we're going to keep it all bubble braid. And you just keep repeating the process. You add your rubber band. You pinch it when you're about to pull that strand to create the bubble. And you want to make sure you're not accidentally pulling some of that tinsel in the other strands, so that way you don't get any tangles or any mess ups. You go through the center, wrap it 2 to 3 times. Again, the purpose of wrapping the hair is to conceal the hairband. And we just want to keep on making sure as we work our way down the strand that we're continuously fluffing it out, making sure that there's no parts that go flat on us. This hair, again, it's synthetic, it's made out of plastic. It can have a tendency to be difficult to work with. So you just want to make sure that you're using firm tension when you're securing it or when you're manipulating it. That way it doesn't give you undesired results. So I'm just finding the strand underneath. and I pull up, and that creates your bubble. And you would do the exact same thing if you were doing natural hair. It's the exact same technique. Although I must say, working with natural hair is a lot easier because it doesn't slip out of the rubber band so easily. But once you get the hang of it, you'll start being able to work with both synthetic hair and natural hair doing these bubble braid techniques. You can also add tinsel into natural hair as well. So these ponytails aren't only for synthetic hair. You can definitely do this on your own hair. So I just turned it around and now I'm doing the other side. My idea for this was to have the bubble braids cascading down on either side, and I'm gonna leave the center loose, as you'll see at the end, because I really want that tinsel to just sparkle and shimmer. And I feel like the bubble braids on either side make a nice, kind of like a frame for your art. You just pull up. You get that thin strand of hair. Again, pay attention to making sure that the part that you're about to wrap around is not too thick of a section. You're wrapping it about 2 to 3 times with the goal, again, of just making sure that you're concealing that rubber band. Something else you can do as well when you have the rubber bands concealed, you can add charms or you can add beads. There's a lot of different things you could do. If I were to decorate this a little more, I would love to add maybe some little basketball charms because, again, this is for the San Antonio Spurs. So we could have little charms with the logo. We can have the little alien, right? There's a lot of really cute ways that you can add more embellishments to your bubble braid ponytails. There we go. We're just making those bubbles. Again, make sure that you're fluffing it out as you're working on the next bubble braid. That way we don't have a problem with them falling flat. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to find that thin section of hair to wrap around the rubber band. Open crochet tool through the center, wrap 2 to 3 times. Attach to the hook and pull. And again, if you wanted to make these bubbles even smaller, you would just put the sections where you're placing your rubber band closer together and it would make the bubbles come out smaller. Be careful working with your tinsel as well as the synthetic hair. It has a tendency to, if you pull too hard and it rubs up against your skin, it could cut you. So be very careful with that. Also too, if you want the hair to be more smooth at the ends, we would be dipping it in hot water. I will be showing you that in another tutorial. But for this one in particular, I'm just going to leave them the way they are. Just because it has all that cute sparkle and I'm ready to wear this already. There we go. We're wrapping it. See, you notice for that one, I only had to go around 1 time. And don't worry if it doesn't come through so easily. Just get your finger and lightly pull. There we go. We fixed that. If you have any issues, always remember you can just cut off the rubber band and try again. We're getting down to the bottom. Now you can keep going as long as you have enough hair to section off to wrap around your rubber band. So of course, if you were to do those smaller sections, you would have more bubbles, the smaller ones. These ones I would say are about medium-sized bubbles. And we're almost done. We're coming towards the end where this is going to be in its final ready to wear stage. There we go. Be careful on the bottom. Just again, you want to make sure you have enough hair to wrap. One. And then that one also just needed to be wrapped around once. I absolutely love the way braiding hair looks when you mix the hair tinsel in. And this is your final product. This is our Spurs themed bubble braid ponytail. It is a very simple technique. And now you're ready to cheer on the Spurs. Go Spurs, go!